Interesting. So it's
That
like
makes sense.
replacing the bad coping mechanisms with the good ones that could really bring you joy and fulfillment
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So it's
It's
quite a
that sounds very
good one.
personal. Like it's so individual to do that because we all have different triggers. We all go through, different emotions about certain things. So it's really personal. Personal finances are really personal.
Yeah, and like I think some people would get really scared to do that because they go, oh, I don't want to see what I'm spending. But then I'm like,
Yeah,
you're the
yeah.
people who need to do it. You need to do
Uh-huh.
it
Uh-huh.
because you need to
Exactly.
know. It's your
Yeah,
money. You want
yeah.
to know where it's going.
I think that education around like personal finances is so poor. Like we go to school and we never talk about personal finances, and that's where it comes from. Like if your caregivers were not good or were too much like around spending money, then it's really hard as an adult to do that. What is
Mhm.
budget and how we can work around our budget and what we should prioritize first?
So I think when it comes to budgeting, I was having this conversation this morning with a friend about the word budget has got really bad, like negative
Mhm,
connotations attached to it
mhm, mhm.
because you think that you have to be restrictive and you're budgeting, so you're being frugal, you're being tight, you can't
Yeah.
spend money on things you like. That's absolutely not the case. The
Uh-huh.
point of a budget is to know exactly what money you have coming in, know exactly what money you have going out on your expenses, and then choosing where you want to spend your money. So spending also including financial goals, so putting money into savings, putting money to investments towards retirement, and that level of control is what allows you to do everything. It allows you to spend money in the now and have a really, fun time making memories, experiencing stuff, but also whilst preparing for the future. And
Mm,
that's the best combination, right? To be able to do both. You want to enjoy your money now, but also be prepared for the future.
yeah.
And there's loads of different budgeting methods that you can like use. So you've got like a spreadsheet that you could use. So I have a spreadsheet that you can download for free, and it's
Mhm.
quite specific, but it's got a section for spending, expenses, financial goals, like breaks it all down.
Mhm, mhm.
But then there's other methods like the 50-30-20 method. So you put 50 of your money, 50%
Mhm.
goes on needs, so like rent,
Okay.
bills.
Mhm.
30% goes on wants, so like clothes and going out, and then 20% goes into savings and investments. So you don't have it's a more vague and less like really specific way to
Mhm.
budget.
Mhm.
But there's so many different ways that you can budget. Like it's about finding one that works for you. um but I think that when it comes to like what you should prioritize, it's making sure that your bills are covered
Mhm. Yeah.
and knowing what percentage of your paycheck is going on bills, and if it's a really that, so that it's not such a high percentage, if that
Mhm.
makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts about overdrafts and credit cards? Would you recommend if we are short with money, what would you recommend to go after, credit cards or overdrafts?
I'm a fan of credit cards personally.
Okay, why?
Um, so if you can get if you can use a credit card responsibly, they can be amazing tools to improve your credit score, to regulate your cash flow, to give you purchase protection. They can be incredible. The problem with credit cards is the lack of education around how to use them.
Mhm.
So what
Mhm.
people do is they get a credit card, they think it's free money, they go crazy and
Yes.
spend their full limit. And
Uh-huh.
then they're like, oh, well, now I've got this massive credit card bill that I don't know how to pay off. So
Uh-huh.
then they end up paying back the minimum every month while still spending on it, and it just goes up. So my recommendation when it comes to credit cards is I use my credit card kind of like a debit card. So that's what I spend all of everything on throughout the month.
Okay.
And then the following month, I pay it off in full.
Okay.
So I work out my budget. I work out how much I've got to spend for the month. Once I've moved, I'll keep in my debit account, I keep enough money for all of my bills. I move money into my savings, into my investments, and then I see how much I've got left over to spend. So let's say that was £500. I know that on my credit card for that month, I can't go over £500. And then at the end of the month, I pay it off with the £500 that's left in my account. The reason why I do that is because you have to know, you can do that if you know that you can trust yourself. If you say, I don't get a credit card because I can't trust myself, that there's obviously some money fears and money beliefs that are stopping you from living your best life and being able to handle your finances properly. But the reason why I like credit cards is because, like I say, if you spend on a credit card, you've got extra protection. So you're covered by Section 75 of the Consumer Act. So you're covered up to anything over £100.
Okay.
And it's a good way to regulate your cash flow. But the problem, like I say, the problem is young people getting a credit card, not knowing how to use it, and then getting into debt. So it's the lack of education around credit cards that I don't like, not the credit cards themselves.
I've been there, done that, I've got a credit card and I've spent it. I was like, what is all money? Where is money?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. You're like, hang on a second.
What happened? Like someone stole my card. Is there any is there any did it to myself. Is there any specific brand that you would recommend if it comes to credit cards? Is there any like good ones out there?
It depends what you're looking for. So you can get credit cards that have good cash back. You can get credit cards that you get like points. So for example, I've got an American Express. I get the one that you get air miles. Now, I chose that prior to COVID happening because I wanted to be able to travel loads. Obviously, right now, that's not the most helpful credit card. But it's good. Now, the thing with a points card is you have to be really strict with yourself that you don't spend more just so you can get points, because that can happen. I've done that before. Where I've gone, I kind of want some extra points, and you spend money you don't want to spend. So that's one thing to be careful of. But I really like the American Express one. I also work with a bank called Zopa, and they have a credit card which is amazing if it's one of the first times you're getting a credit card, because it's got this function on it where, let's say you get given a £1,000 limit, but for the month you've only got £300 to spend, you can put a lock on £300.
Oh, that's
so that you
amazing.
can't go over it.
Oh, that's
really
so cool.
good.
That's so helpful.
And something to think about is about your credit utilization. So when you have been given money to borrow, so you've got a credit card limit, what we want to try and do is not go over 30 to sort of 40% of our credit utilization. So if we've got a limit of £1,000, you want to always keep the balance you carry, so how much you're spending of that borrowing, to around 30 to 40%, which would be £300 to £400. Because if you're using 100% of your limit that you get given, the banks and people who are loaning you money think that you need all of that money, and they think, they can't afford this. Whereas if you're always keeping it to sort of 30%, they see that you're using credit as a tool, and that you can use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off. So it's another way to help improve your credit score, which again, if you use Zopa's card, super helpful function. You can obviously do that on other cards, but you just have to be the one monitoring that yourself.
Well, that's really good. It's such a good idea. And
I do have sorry, I was to say, on my Instagram I've got a video that an IGTV that talks about top tips on how to use a credit card responsibly. So if you're listening to this, you're thinking about getting a credit card and you're not sure what to do, go check that video out, and hopefully that'll help you make your mind up.
Where can we start looking for someone or some charity that could potentially help us to get over like really bad financial situation? Is there anyone out there who could potentially help with that for free? Ideally for free,
Yeah, so there is charities, debt charities that
Mm-hmm.
do that. So you can go to the Citizens like Advice Bureau, but I
Okay.
always recommend going to Step Change.
Okay.
So they're a debt advice charity that you get in contact with them. They're amazing. They're really helpful. You speak to them over the phone, and they will help figure out what it is that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they might say, your debt is manageable. Here are some tools just to help you pay it off. It might be like some spreadsheets, templates. Or they might look at your situation and say, right, you either need to be on a debt management plan, insolvency, or bankruptcy. But whatever that is, they help you for free. They take you through all the steps. They're there to support you. And it's all for free. And it's somebody to talk to. And they're amazing. So if you are in a position where you're like, I really don't know how to manage my money, I've got more money going out than I've got coming in, you can go and chat to Step Change. And a debt management plan, basically, just a quick overview, would be your Step Change would consolidate all into one big lump sum, your debts, and they would look at the money that you have coming in and all of the bills that you need to pay. They'd see how much money you actually have left over to go on debts, and they go, right, you can only afford to pay off £500 of your debts. They take that £500 and they split it out to the companies, and they chat to those companies and they say, look, whoever, Mrs. Smith, can only afford to pay you back X amount every month. We're putting a plan in place. You will be getting your money back, and it's the plan. So, and they help you do all of that for free. So it's an amazing, if you are in a really bad situation, they're amazing at
That's
doing
brilliant. That. Yeah. What would you say that are top money mistakes that people do? Like, what have you seen so far if it comes to your clients?
Top mistakes. So I guess if we're talking in regards to like the way that we manage your money, it's living paycheck to paycheck and not accepting that you need like safety money. So I have this a lot where people go, oh, I've got a good job, I get loads of money, so I just like, oh, it's all right. You go, okay, well, what happened if you lost your job, or what happened if you got ill? They don't have an emergency fund. Money that is there, and it's boring, isn't it? Going, oh, I need an emergency fund in case I lose my job. It sounds boring, but we're adults. We have to be prepared. So I guess not having an emergency fund. And then the other one would be holding all of their savings and money in cash in like a savings account. And unfortunately, interest rates at the moment are awful. They're so bad. And not understanding about how you can make your money work for you and how you can grow your money. So saving is amazing. If we've got short-term goals, like you're going on holiday or you want to set up a business or whatever, having money that is readily accessible is great. You don't earn a lot of interest off that money, but if you need access to it, fine. But when we're thinking long-term, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, we need to think about how we can use our money to our advantage to build wealth and financial security for retirement and for the future. And you do that through investing. It's a mistake that people avoid investing, but it's also not their fault, because we've been told that investing is only for rich old white men.
Absolutely.
And
reserved for them, not for women's.
Yeah, but actually you get rich by investing. So it's about learning, self-educating, learning how to invest and how to grow your money so that you are financially secure for the future.
I have no bloody clue about investing money. What would you suggest to start from? Like, where do I go? What do I do?
Where do you start? Yeah, and do you know what? The worst thing is when you feel like you don't know anything about it, which was me a few years ago. Like I honestly was like, what is that?
That's
not for me.
Yeah.
Isn't it gambling? Isn't it? But it's not. It's for it's for us. So my recommendation would be, first of all, is try this. So there's a couple of books you could read, or a couple of like YouTube videos that you could watch, just simple how to get investing. But just get started. But there's loads of amazing apps out there. So for example, like Plum,
Mm-hmm.
that rounds up your money. So if you spend £5.10, it might round it up to £5.50. It takes
Mm-hmm.
40p.
Mm-hmm.
All these little round ups